At the budget. Parliament yesterday received a budget estimate for the financial year 2019-2020 and it's amounting to 40.5 trillion. And what looks like it's taking the lion's share is the works and transport, which is projected to get 16% of the budget, with the largest share of the with 6.4 trillion, followed by security. And this morning we ask you, what do you think should have gotten the lion's share?
Well, Parliament is today expected to pass the 2019-2020 financial year budget. Like Rita said, it's estimated to be amount 40.4 trillion Ghana shillings. A report presented last evening by Parliament's Budget Committee showed that 74.5% of the budget is expected to be domestically financed, while 24.5% by external resources. The budget, however, does not cater for the salary enhancement of teachers who are currently on strike. These striking teachers will later today meet with Public Service and the Ministry of Education officials. Now, according to the budget estimates, works has again taken the lion's share. So this morning, we want to find out from you, which sector do you think or would you like to see take the biggest chunk of the budget? Share your views on all our social media platforms. The hashtag is morning at NTV. And of course, we'll take a look at some of that and share up, of course, open up our phone lines as well. And you can come through and let us revisit this topic, and let's have a huge discussion and share ideas. Right. So I'm going to start with the team here. Which section would you want to take the biggest share when it comes to the budget?
How about we answer that when we get back?
Just randomly. Which? We're
going to be very honest. I speak for Malan, right? I hope she's not going to be. But we're going to be honest about that when we just take. Let's first take a look at this story by Habad Ziwa.
Think about it.
No, I definitely know for a fact. But let's take a look at the story done by Habad Ziwa.
Guide our debate. Mr. Chairman, can you report?
After months of scrutinizing the various ministerial statements, the Budget Committee of Parliament on Thursday presented a 40.4 trillion shillings budget to be considered by the whole House. The budget represents an increment from 39.5 trillion estimates the Ministry of Finance first presented in March. This rise is a result of, among other things, the demands of the roadmap to the 2021 general elections.
Critical expenditure pressures addressed by the Corrigenda include issues relating to salaries, pensions and gratuity, amounting to shillings 137.99 billion. Number 3, election roadmap 2021, providing for shillings 73.26 billion.
The budget also represented a 6 trillion increment from the 2018-2019 financial year budget, which was 34 trillion shillings. According to the estimates, 74.5% of the budget is expected to be domestically financed, while 24.5% will be financed by external resources. Out of this 40.4 trillion budget, recurrent expenditure will be 10.5 trillion shillings, development expenditure 17.3 trillion, and statutory expenditure of 17.5 trillion.
A budget proposal without resources to finance it is really nothing. So this financial year, we proposed to do one of the reforms through digital stamps. We would like to see that there is accuracy and precision in the sector of manufacturing.
In terms of sectors, works and transport will get 4.7 trillion, education will have 2.7 trillion, energy and mineral development 2.4 trillion, health 2.3, while payment on non-interest will cost 2.5 trillion.
So to me, I think so far so good. Only that maybe infrastructure development in as far as education is concerned is not very, very well catered for. And I think this is something that we will have to debate a lot much more.
Despite the ongoing teachers' strike, the budget estimates do not cater for their salary increment. This prompted opposition MPs on the committee, led by Butambala County MP Mwanga Chivumbi, to table a minority report.
Right Honorable Speaker, but majority members of this House are also coming from the arts-related subjects, and they are wonderful Ugandans, and they are product of those arts teachers, and therefore they need also to enjoy and live peacefully, and therefore this discrimination will not endanger professionalism in all sectors.
Because a science teacher subject goes in the same supermarket or in the same market with a teacher who is teaching arts subject. This will bring a very big problem to schools, whereby school managers will fail to manage and control. Because when you look at the scale at which it was put at, you find that some science teachers are earning more than a head teacher. And this is a very big challenge.
Parliament will reconvene on Friday to pass this budget. Herbert Ziwa, NTV at.
So, well, that is a look at what the sectors are, what they're getting, and what is coming out of Parliament when it comes to the budget for the financial year 2019-2020. Now, David earlier asked us what our opinions are when it comes to what we think should perhaps have taken the lion's share. And for me, and for a number of people wondering, I would say my top three would have been something to do with education, something to do with health, definitely, something to also do with the judiciary, because when you take a look at what is being given to the judiciary with the cases day in, day out, when it comes to the news, case backlog, when it comes to the news, the health sector struggling, when they say we don't have money for this, we don't have money for that, we have strikes day in, day out, and then we also have the education sector, where it stands right now, the teachers saying we just need an increase in our salary so that even us as people, we can be able to survive. And here we look at it and we're seeing that the works and transport is taking the lion's share. We also have security. Now, we do also take a look at what the NRM manifesto, given it was the NRM manifesto week last week and also part of this week, and they are saying when it comes to security, we're good. When you see what they're saying, the figures are above 60%. When it comes to infrastructure, we're also doing well on that end, also another above 60%. But what about when it comes to our education services and our education facilities? When we had the Minister of Education about the fact that we need over 270 public schools, but when it comes to funding, we can't have these schools. So how do we expect to enjoy the infrastructure and also be able to enjoy the security when we don't have the right health, when we also don't have the ability to just, when it comes to education, to understand that this is now what we can be able to use? Mala, what about you? What are your priorities?
Yes.
What would have been the priorities?
Right. For me, top three, I think number one topping the list is agriculture. The reason as to why I'm saying this is that that's our stronghold, really. And we've been having experts on the show saying that, you know what, let's not hustle so much to put in so much in something that we don't have the strength to do, and just in the name of trying to see that, okay, fine, this is where the world is going and this is what many states are doing, and we fail on looking at the goal that we've been given, blessed with by the Almighty God. So we have agriculture, our climatic conditions are amazing, we are doing a lot of exports, but not to our potential, our capacity. We're not, exhausting our capacity. So for me, agriculture should be the number one, especially knowing that a majority of the population are actually in one way or another employed in this particular sector. How about we strengthen it? How about we invest more in agriculture so we can realize the economic transformation that we long for?
Can you imagine how much agriculture is getting?
Imagine that.
1 trillion Uganda shillings.
Only.
1 trillion Uganda shillings.
Only.
Yes.
Only. And you know what? The climatic conditions across the globe are not doing well. That means that many states are actually struggling to feed their own. But here we are as Ugandans, blessed by Mother Nature. How about we invest more in agriculture so that we provide food, not just for us, but for other states? Let's strengthen our export sector in terms of agriculture. Let's feed other states. Let's look at that as a gold mine and exhaust that. And we'll be shocked at how much it will improve the lifestyle of our people, how much our economy is going to transform, and all that is going to bring a total transformation, not just for ourselves, but also for the needy markets out there. Number 2 for me is education. The reason as to why I'm saying education is that the conversation is still ongoing, that we need an overhaul of the education system, that everything has to change. We've been having conversation of our population is fast growing. We're talking about over 40 million people in Uganda, and we always say that if our economy is to change, then it's not just about the quantity or the amount of people that are in there, it's about the quality of the citizens. So if we have an education system that is robust, that is working, then that means that we're going to be churning out a quality citizenry that is going to make sure that every single sector then performs to 100%. So if we're having amazing doctors being churned out of this university, if we're having amazing engineers being churned out of these universities, if we're having amazing teachers being churned out of these teaching schools, then that will mean that our children will be equipped to the best and will even compete on a global level. So if these other sectors are to work, then let's strengthen our education system. Let's ensure that we're churning out quality over quantity. We've been having conversations. Why are we having, people coming from different countries to come and, sit in the top management positions? It's because of simply that. People are saying that, we don't have the skills. Why don't we have the skills? Yet we can do something about it. I think for me the dream is that let's get to the point whereby we are so equipped, we are so skilled such that we don't need the help of other people coming from other countries to come and boost us, and boost our, our sectors, and boost our private sector, and boost our public sector in terms of consultancy and stuff like that. So for me, education comes number 2. Number 3 is health. If we don't have a healthy citizen, if we're losing people to diseases that diseases that pretty much people should not die out of, how about we just check that, because we always say that if we're losing people to diseases, and there's a quality people, then what are we being left with? So if our economy is to change, to be transformed, to function at 100%, health is key. Health is key. Health is key. Another dream of mine is for our health sector to get to the position whereby people don't have to go out of the country to seek for medical attention.
Well, we have the hospital coming our way in Lubowa. We have that coming our way, it was mentioned. Let's just wait and see.
But you see, Rita, they always say that a hospital is not the amazing, magnificent structure. The hospital is the services therein. The hospital is the medicines. The hospital is the infrastructure, the machinery. The hospital is the human resource. We need to check that. We really need to check that.
It comes to mind if we have the right roads and we have the security leading us to what type of hospitals and what type of schools are we taking our children to at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But let's go to social media feedback. David, I hope we've been able to answer that rightly. My last top 3: agriculture, education, and health. On my end, there is health. There is education as well, not forgetting, David. And I want to know what yours are.
I think I partly agree with both of you. I probably would eject just one of what you picked out. My top 3 would probably be health. For me, would come number 1, because when you have healthy citizens, I think it contributes to a lot. Though I understand every time we keep complaining and saying, well, we need to concentrate on health, and then when a hospital like the one that you just mentioned comes up, there's very many Ugandans are up in arms against it. But health for me would be number 1. Number 2 would be education, because we need to have an educated and informed citizen in this country. Number 3 would probably be housing, because when you look at Uganda, we are naturally a housing owning country. 86, I think it's about 86% of houses from rural dwellings are owned by individuals. When you come here to Kampala, it's 57% of the people that are staying in Kampala are renting. 57%. So I think housing is, and cheap, affordable housing is something that the government needs to put their hand on as well. I think the past few years we have had a lot of concentration on, if you look at the budget, on the shares here on the Daily Monitor today, energy and mineral development, there's been too much concentration on that. Works and transport, I think we need to keep going that way, though I think my request would be, can they come to Kampala as well? It's very good when you're driving to Gulu, when you're driving to Mbarara, but when you're in the city center here in Kampala, try and use Rukuli. That road in Rukuli, band something, that side. Oh God, it's such a bad road. Anyway, let's get into some of the comments that we have coming through on social media, and we ask you, what do you think should have the biggest share when it comes to the budget, the national budget? And Ahmed Shaban Mugweri says health sector. He does agree with the three of us. Samson Okui says production and marketing sector. Marketing, yeah. I think this Samson agrees with Mala, especially when it comes to farming. Let's produce more, but have a marketing sector as well to make sure that our goods are marketed well out there. Tony Banks Richson says, let all the money be allocated to the president's tour and civil servants who have not been paid. Very interesting there. Mabuya Mubarak, good morning to you. You say, I personally think that the priority should be given to the health and education sector. Of course, agreeing with us there. Duff says, with good roads, the rest can fall in line. It deserves the share. Joanne Muller says, health sector, education sector, even people power campaign sector. Really, you want government to fund the opposition more so that they can oust them. That's interesting. Paul Charles, he says, to those external recruitment firms so that they can change Ugandans less as they get work for them. Odong Boni says, none other than security. Well, Odong, I can tell you that security is getting largely the second biggest share of the budget, 3.6 trillion Uganda shillings. Anyait Florence Elogu, you say education and sports because all sectors passed through teachers. Why are they making teachers cry year in, year out? It's my prayer that they increase teachers' salary. Well, I can gladly tell you that's the teachers' prayer as well, so that they can get more money. Amanya Saimo, you say it's corruption which will take the biggest percentage. I bet. Wow. Dr. Emma Brown agrees with you, Mala. He says that agriculture is the backbone of this country and should get the biggest percentage. Swale Kagolo says, I'm concerned with the roads budget favoring most the one region which was allocated 1.8 trillion, yet it adds less to the country's GDP. Wow. Muhereza agrees with you, Mala, as well. Says agriculture and security. Well, like we have highlighted, security is getting the second biggest share of the budget. Joshi says agriculture, sports and entertainment. I think this one is thinking of Fresh Kid as he types this out. Agriculture is the big deal for food security purposes and even absorb the unemployed population. That is Son Sami Aijuka. A couple of people coming through to support you, Mala, on the health sector and how it needs more funding. So there you go. I think if it was a poll today, the health sector would get more from the energy and mineral development, because not a single person here has mentioned the energy and mineral development. So we'll cut a share off the energy and mineral development and push it to Mala's cause, which is agriculture.
Well, thank you so much, David. Now we're going to also take a look at one thing that was raised, and maybe someone hasn't thought about it. I didn't see it anywhere in any of the comments on social media, which is the ICT bit of things. Well, we are in 2019, and day in, day out, technology is coming to the forefront, and neither of us has actually mentioned it. But right now, when you take a look at what is going to be allocated to us, ICT and national guidance sector, 0.3% of the budget. 0.3% of the budget, taking it to 123 billion Uganda shillings in the national budget for ICT.
Interesting. So keep your views coming. The hashtag is Morning at NTV across all the social media platforms. Of course, this is a conversation that keeps going, and what we know is that 74.5% of the budget is expected to be domestically financed. So that talks to, I think it speaks to matters to do with revenue collection, taxes and stuff like that. So let's pay our taxes, all right? And the other thing is that the 24.5% that is remaining will be financed by external sources, and we're still having conversations of our, of course, of our debt in Uganda. Conversations have been. The Ministry of Finances say that we are not yet at the 50% threshold. I mean, our debt to GDP ratio stands at 38%. So hey, guys, don't worry. But people are saying that, you know what? How about we start mitigating that before we get to the 50% threshold? Kenya is now struggling. They are past the 50% threshold. As much as they do have their industries functioning in terms of infrastructure, they're on another level, but they are now grappling with repayment of debt. So these are conversations that are tricky. I respect government because it's a hard boat to balance, literally. Now that you use that term time and again, because you can imagine, here you are, still we're having a conversation on towns being elevated to city status, and we're saying that then if these towns are to be elevated, they need to be able to sustain themselves. It's about the quality of the people living in that particular town stroke city to be, you know, them being able to pay taxes. So you know what, your tax does really count. But of course, conversations have been coming through to say that people are saying that we have no problem paying taxes, we just want to see where our money is going to.
Accountability.
So accountability is another key thing that I think government needs to look into. But it's a tough place to be at. As president of the country, I salute him. He must have the toughest skin. It's not easy. Yesterday we were hosting a former minister, Honorable, and he was saying that government is not daft. They have their priorities right. They see into the future. But I think the only thing that maybe weighs us down is the matter to do with what you said yesterday, corruption. Let's check that, and I think we should be on our way to success.
Yes, we have noted some improvement on that end, and yesterday the Office of the Prime Minister did mention that they have taken, one of its achievements is fighting corruption within the country. So we need to see a lot more being done. But that has been our Kickstarter segment. You can use the hashtag Morning at NTV, continue the conversation, and we'll definitely also have a look at what you're saying on social media. But as a country, we are gearing for the financial year 2019-2020.
Okay, seems like we talk more.
Turns out. It turns out we will have to keep going with this. We're not getting out of this one.
You know, and by the way, it's a Friday, so you can call in. You can call in. The numbers are on your screen, 0414563462. Call in and give us your views on what sector you think should be taking the lion's share come financial year 2019-2020. We'll be taking your calls, so keep them coming. We want to hear your voice as well, and your opinion. Very important. Rita,
it seems we have a call. Hello, good morning. Well, we seem to have lost that one, but you can also call us and be a part of the conversation.